Okay, cool. We're live and we're recording. So welcome everyone who's tuning in live. I know we're doing this in the afternoon, but hopefully we'll have quite a few people be able to tune in. If not, watch the replay later. But definitely, obviously, as you can see, have a really special guest for this week's live, today's live. I know she's making a funny face, like, oh, I'm not that special, but no, definitely a special guest. So we have Megan Dollman here. She's one of my one-on-one clients, and we've been working together for the past. It's been like 5 months. I believe it was like mid-April or so when
Yeah,
you,
sounds right.
yeah, when you first joined. So Megan, how's your week going so far? Any like
Awesome.
big wins or anything exciting this week?
Yeah, I got under 150 pounds for the first time in like 3 years today, so that was cool.
Yeah, that was super exciting. So like for anybody listening, this was something that you and I remember we talked about when you first joined the program, I think, and I remember you specifically saying like 150 was a number that you felt like you couldn't really get under like ever again, or like every time you got close to getting under 150, then you ended up somehow like gaining the weight back or just couldn't do it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we had this live like scheduled last week, like we planned to do it this week. And we just got off of a 2 week diet break where we brought calories up and just focused on maintenance. And you were like right around like 151 ish, like that whole time. So you were like right there.
hmm
And then, of course, today, the day we plan to do the live, you end up weighing under 150 for the first time, in the program, but also the first time in what did you say, like 2.5 years?
Yeah. Yeah. And even when I was under 150 back then, that was only for like a few months. Like I always kind of went between 145 up to like 180. Like it always fluctuated. So it's
Yeah,
exciting to be like here on purpose.
right. And to do it after 2 weeks of eating more calories. Like we
Yeah,
had
that was
just,
fun.
yeah, we had just finished up a fat loss phase, and now total, like you're down. Actually, I checked your like weight that you logged the very first day, like when you filled out the form when you signed on, and now you're down 19 pounds. It's technically like 18.6 or something. I don't know, something like that, but basically 19
Mhm.
pounds. And it's funny because like you hit this like brand new like low weight, a weight that you haven't seen in forever, right after coming off of a 2 week like phase of
Yeah.
increasing your calories by like 4 to 500.
Yeah,
Um,
that was weird. I was expecting to gain a few pounds during that diet break, but I wound up losing, so that was cool.
yeah, so that was really exciting, and it's funny because I know we just started the new fat loss phase yesterday, and I was telling Megan I was like waiting to see what her way into this morning was going to be because I just had this like weird feeling that you were going to be under 150 uh today, and just so happened to be it. So obviously, like, I always talk about individual weigh-ins. They're not super important because things are going to fluctuate up and down. But like when you hit a new milestone like this, especially with you being down 19 pounds now, like really close to being down a total of 20, like those new milestones are exciting. And it's like good, I think, to celebrate those.
Yeah.
So Megan, tell everyone before we kind of dive into your journey a little bit more, just like a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, where you're from, uh, any like fun facts about Megan.
Well, I'm from Cleveland-ish, and then I went to college in Toledo, and then I moved back to like Akron-ish. And so I've lived in Ohio my whole life. Um, I have never been an active person. My whole family always joked about how uncoordinated and unathletic we are. I don't think I've run a mile in my whole life. Um, yeah, so I never really thought of myself as a fit person or athletic or anything. So this is all very new to me. But it's surprising how doable it's been. And yeah, it's just kind of like adding things to your daily to-do list. It's not, turning into a power lifter or anything. My husband's a power lifter, so when we first met, we've been together for almost 10 years now. And for years, it just seemed like too intimidating for me to get into the gym and do what he does. But yeah, this program's been even good for my marriage because I understand him a lot more now. And yeah, um, I don't, I've never been good about talking about myself. I'm not sure about any fun facts about me.
Well, you have a son, Henry.
Oh yeah, yeah, I have a
Yeah,
son. He's a year and a half now, and he's kind of like the whole reason I like snapped out of it and wanted to start this because I just want to be like a good mom for him, and I want to show him how to be a happy, healthy human. So yeah, this program's also been good for him.
yeah. And I'm sure we'll probably dive into like some of that, later on too. Um, but wanted to kind of first off have you just kind of describe, like you kind of talked about it a little bit before, of like, you never really were into working out as much or never thought of yourself as a fit person. But like take us back to the like very beginning of your journey. And like, we had kind of Megan and I already talked about some of the things that she kind of planned to, share with her journey and everything, and how deep her journey has been. And you really struggled, with a lot. And you texted me um some details of everything that happened and everything you were going through actually on my birthday, and it was just like extremely powerful. And that's like another big reason why I want to have Megan on here, not only because obviously like her success in the program has been incredible, but because of your story and where you are now compared to your past. So let's just kind of dive in and share what you feel comfortable sharing as far as when your journey began, as far as like your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, and where that all kind of started that brought you to the point where you were before you joined the program.
Sure. So it's it's kind of hard to summarize your life, but let's just get the ugly part out of the way. So I was sexually abused growing up since I could remember, up until I left the house at 17 years old. And it was very opportunistic in nature. It was every time he was alone with me. Um, you know, Older brothers would be off at school or work, and parents are busy being adults. And yeah, so it was just like a constant threat. And so I started coming up with coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms. I don't know. I've never been to therapy yet. I'm working on it. But so yeah, I got older and I started to understand what was happening to me, and that it was probably related to attraction. So I would start to wear stained big boys' clothes. I would refuse to bathe for days at a time. I wouldn't brush my teeth. As I hit puberty and my hair got curly, I just started blow torching my hair. Basically, I looked like a creepy clown half the time. Started breaking out in acne, and I'd pick the crap out of my face. I was a walking mess. And the women in my life would try to show me how to take care of myself and be kind, and I would tell them, oh no, I'm not a girly girl. It's not my style. And but honestly, I just didn't want anybody to be attracted to me. I was trying to keep everything at bay. So as far as like eating goes, my family just couldn't cook. Like, we could not make tasty meals to save our lives. We didn't eat breakfast most mornings, and I would eat what I had to for lunch. And then I'd be starving by the time I got home from school. So I'd like pig out on pizza products and stuff. And then we'd have a basic like veggie, carb, meat dinner, and then we go to bed. So that kind of was like how I ate for my whole life, just very like minimalistic. Like, I'll eat when I have to. And when I do, I want it to taste like pizza. And So yeah, anyway, the other sort of coping mechanism that I had was when I was at home, like around him, I would just zone out like constantly. I was always just on autopilot, and I would snap out of it if somebody talked directly to me. And that started happening at school too. I was always zoned out unless a teacher called on me or something. Um, so I got to be known as like the quiet girl at school. And yeah, that was just like how I lived. I was on autopilot most of the time, doing the bare minimum so that nobody had to like intervene. Nobody had to tell me to get my grades up or anything like that. I did just enough to get by. I ate just enough to get my work done or anything that I had to do. But yeah, I was very just zoned out all the time. And as far as exercise goes, like I said, there just wasn't a lot going on there. I met James when we went to the University of Toledo together, and he was a bodybuilder at the time, which was very new. His family had similar dietary habits to mine, but they could cook a lot better. So, when I met James, he introduced me to really good food, and I gained about 30 pounds within 2 years of meeting him. And, he would try like bringing me to the gym and sharing that passion with me, but he's at the gym for like 3 hours at a time, and I can't hang that long. So, yeah, I just exercising with him never really stuck, and I was too intimidated to go to the gym by myself. Like I would get gym memberships and I would show up and I would see how full the parking lot was, and I would get just so worked up in my head and I would just drive home. Um so yeah,
So, if you don't mind me kind of like interrupting, like for one, like I really appreciate you, and I told you this, before we went live, like you even just sharing that story because, it's really powerful. And, once we get into also like where you're at now, like mentally and physically too, I think it's going to be really inspiring for a lot of people, like knowing where you came from and how you learned at such a young age to almost like not take care of yourself purposely because all these things that people should be able to do, take care of their bodies, take care of their hair, take care of their hygiene, be open with themselves, be present, like all these things that make you feel good and confident and that you should be rewarded for, right? Like you should have good experiences when you feel confident and take care of yourself. You were kind of punished for it based on, the experience that you had. And you learned from a young age that those things were almost kind of bad to do. Like it was bad to take care of yourself in this. And now, like when you decided to do this program, it was kind of a leap in the opposite direction, right? Of like realizing like I actually do want to do these things that make me feel good and feel confident and take care of my body. And I'm not afraid to do it anymore, or I feel open to do it now. And I think that's a huge step and a huge leap and a huge breakthrough for you. And um I just thought that was really cool when you shared that with me, a couple weeks ago and shared where you are now and just like I don't know. I mean I couldn't imagine experiencing something like that and then like the strength it would take to work through that and get over that as well. Um so one just like kind of follow-up question on all that too is you mentioned like there were aspects with your hygiene or your hair and this and the clothes you wore um that like you made certain decisions because you didn't want um people to like think you were attractive or see you in that way. What about like food and even like fitness wise? Did you choose like certain behaviors in that realm to like make yourself not feel as attractive or not to be perceived as attractive to other people?
yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't like exercising or anything to look healthy. That was another thing. Like, obviously James and I are very well connected, and He's very attracted to me, even though like I really never believed him, especially in the beginning, how attracted he was to me. Um, and that was actually a problem for us for a while. He would get so frustrated with me. But I would eat, like crap, and I would refuse to exercise because I didn't want to be attractive for a long, long time. Um, it James was very patient with me as I worked through a lot of that. He Yeah, I wouldn't be here without him, but he has been um very encouraging too, like making me feel safe. And I finally got to a point where, like, when I got pregnant with Henry, um just like the vision that I had for my future was becoming real, and I started understanding, like, okay, what I wanted growing up is actually, it can be here. It is here. I can have this family that I always dreamed of, and I'm in control of it. I can make it beautiful. Um, so that's when I started wanting to, like, be healthy, just not really understanding how. Um, when I was pregnant with Henry, he was growth restricted, and I was working in a factory, where we only had about 20 minutes of break time a day. So I would try to just stuff my face with as much as I could, just get calories in to help Henry grow. But no matter what I did, he just was growth restricted, and no doctor could tell me why. And I was just really frustrated with my body. I really tried to eat more than I ever had, and I was gaining weight. Just my baby wasn't gaining weight, and I couldn't understand why. Um, so I had Henry, and he's small but perfectly healthy. And then I came into all these breastfeeding issues where, like, I just couldn't produce enough. And I don't know if that was because I was under eating, which I probably was, but also I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So that might have had something to do with it too. But again, I was just so frustrated with my body, but I was like hellbound on doing the whole breastfeeding thing for the first year, because that was just my, like, forcing my body to do what it's supposed to do. So, like, I would try to walk more or eat healthier, and then my supply would tank again. Um, so I was just at an ultimate high as far as, like, frustration with my body goes. And then James told me about you and how you can do both the diet and the exercise part of weight loss. And I just got really, really excited because I had never heard of somebody doing both for just like regular people, not just, you don't have to be an athlete to get that kind of coaching.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was just really good timing when James referred me to you, because I had never been more frustrated with my body. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you on your birthday for kind of digging me out of that hole.
Yeah. And that was like one of the best birthday messages I've ever gotten, that you sharing your story and where you feel like you are now. And like for anybody listening to James, the way like James connected us was I went to University of Toledo for my undergrad in psychology, and James went to Toledo too. And you went to Toledo as well, but you went a different time, I think, than I was there, right? Correct? We kind of
Yeah, I was
figured
I
that
was a
out.
couple years behind James. So
Okay.
whatever year you were, probably -2.
Yeah. So I knew James, and we knew from the gym. I used to work at the rec center there. And that's how like he connected us, which I'm so glad he did. Um and so it sounds like before you joined the program and took that leap, you were just overall frustrated with your body, like completely, with probably like some of it, obviously, like a big part was recently before you joined with the breastfeeding issue, Henry being smaller, you feeling like your body wasn't doing what it should be doing or what you wanted it to be doing. And you felt like you like lost trust in your body there. And then also probably like you mentioned, you had tried to lose weight, get down below 150, but that would just come back. I'm sure there was probably some frustration there too. Uh, and then probably, going back to your past too, probably had some frustration with your body there and almost feeling like your body kind of betrayed you in a sense because when you like maybe did feel attractive, you were dealing with those sexual assault things too. And so all this like frustration kind of built up with almost like losing trust in your body. Like, is that kind of where you're at, how you felt?
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I definitely felt like women um were just automatically vulnerable for our bodies. We're just physically weaker. And when you hit puberty as an awkward girl with only older brothers that, like no real feminine energy around you, it was definitely the most awkward time in my life. And I just hated my body for changing, even though I wasn't ready for it to. And um, I fought those changes for a long time. And so when it's just new to me to be embracing what my body can do and can be, it's a completely different way of living, and I highly recommend it for anybody that's struggling with it.
Yeah. So before you joined, um, what were the things that you well, first off, were you skeptical at all? Like I know maybe you had some extra trust probably because James recommended me to you, but were you skeptical before joining? Like was it scary? Were you nervous?
I was nervous. We had hired a nutritionist during COVID. I forgot to mention that. That was the only like coaching I had ever paid for. We I was terrified of just like ballooning up because we were all stuck inside. So we hired a nutritionist during COVID, and she laid out an exact diet plan of what we should be eating all day, every day. And it was very detailed as far as like seasonings and everything we could be using, but I had no idea like what my macro goals were or like why we were eating what we were eating. And she also didn't touch the exercise part, so I never actually lost weight. I think I actually gained weight with her because we were eating a lot more rice than I had ever eaten in my life. So yeah, that just it didn't stick, and I was nervous it would be like that, where I wouldn't understand what you're going to have me do, because I wanted to not just lose the weight for like a year. I wanted to learn how to be a healthy person for the rest of my life. I wanted to understand everything that you were going to have me do. So when you laid out exactly what your program is and how it works, and that you're there to answer any questions that we have, like constantly, it's so exciting. Like I could not wait to start or to apply. I was nervous that you weren't going to take me on as a client.
uh so the other dietitian, I remember you talking about that. I think when we like first met on Zoom. Uh was it remind me again, was it a thing where you saw that other dietitian like was it like once a month or something? Or was it just like a one-time thing that
Oh,
you
we
saw her?
never no, we never had any calls actually, now that I think about it. She she took my height and my weight, and she wanted to know my like goal weight, which I didn't know. I'd never been a healthy weight really. So I just gave her a number, and she gave me a diet plan through an Excel sheet that she would update every, I think, 3 weeks or so. So yeah, I think we did that for about 3 or 4 months, and then we just didn't renew it because I wasn't seeing any changes.
Gotcha. So how did she know how to update it, I guess? Like did you like check in with her, give her any feedback on like any progress you saw or
I don't remember doing any check-ins. Like she didn't have like a form like you do to check in weekly and see how we're doing and how we're feeling. Um, I remember telling her we were sick of like eating tilapia, so she'd switch it to chicken or something. I forget exactly what the change was, but it was just kind of like swapping out flavors more than anything, as far as I understood it. So yeah, it was just really hands off. And when I expressed to her that I was frustrated I wasn't losing any weight, that's when she was like, "Well, are you walking? Are you doing anything?" And I was like, "No, am I supposed to?" Like I was so clueless. So it's I needed a coach to meet me where I was at and sort of like help me take baby steps to where I needed to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big issue with um a lot of plans, or like, and I don't want to like sound like I'm talking bad on other dietitians, because I'm a dietitian myself, so I don't want to like feel like I'm talking bad about them. But a lot of times when you go and see a dietitian, if it's not their own um coaching company, if they don't do coaching like I do, it's kind of like that, where they just take your height, weight, some stats, they figure out what your calories should be based off of that, give you a
Mhm.
generic meal plan, and kind of send you on your way, and you're kind of like left alone without like much support. And sometimes you don't even have like any follow-up scheduled, and it's like you have to schedule follow-ups in like 3 months or a month or something. And it's not enough support or accountability, or not enough adjustments to like really give people like what they need to actually succeed. And um like, you didn't even know how many, it sounds like, any like calories or like what your protein was or anything like that. And it's like you're not really learning anything that way. You're not learning like why things might plateau if they do, or why progress might stall if it ends up happening. So it's just like there's a lot of flaws with a lot of programs out there, where they're just not as like high touch, in depth. They don't get to know like you as much, or your lifestyle. And like the very first thing I have clients do is just to track their usual intake, because like, sure, I put your numbers in a calculator and get an idea of what you should be eating, but like what you have been eating currently, or the past, few weeks or few months, like plays a big role in what you should eat next, because we have to like work your body up to a certain level, or even just like the fact of not making huge adjustments, like meeting you where you're at, like you said, instead of all of a sudden completely changing up your whole entire diet. We're going to make small changes that add up over time, which end up causing like really, really big results. So it's unfortunate that there are a lot of programs out there, but I guess it's somewhat a good thing, because then it makes it so like my program really stands out, I guess, in my opinion. But um so you were kind of skeptical at first with it being similar to that, but then once you kind of got the ins and outs and of everything, sounds like you were mostly just like excited, like you were ready to go then.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I felt stuck in my body, like being bigger than it had ever been for that year that I was breastfeeding. So yeah, like it just felt like I was helpless again, and I hate feeling like that. I didn't want to feel like that anymore. Um so yeah, when I started the program and you started, upping my step count throughout for those first few weeks, I was like, there's no way I can walk this much in one day. There's no way. Because my average step count before I started, I think, was like less than 3,000 a day. I wasn't moving. And um when James told me about you and I got a job offer to work from home, that was what really felt like the perfect combination, because um James has a home gym in our basement, and I nagged him to get a treadmill that I could work on from home. So I finally was starting to set myself up for success and like think about what I wanted and how to get it. So um yeah, it just kind of felt like coming online for my body, like I can do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. So what were the main things, like let's say like the main, I don't know, a few things that you, when you first started the program, before we even really dove into things, what were the few main things that you like really wanted to accomplish in this program, or see change in your life, or how you felt, or this and that?
Hmm. Um well, I first of all was so uncomfortable. Um, like I had never been very big in my life, but I was always very like flexible. So I could always kind of pretzel up on the couch or do whatever like weird contorting that I wanted. And that was how I was always comfortable. Because I was so big, I couldn't do that anymore. I was just like, I couldn't sit comfortably. I couldn't stand comfortably. Like everything was just not where it should have been. And then all of my clothes didn't fit. I was wearing, like James's clothes half the time or my pregnancy clothes. I was just incredibly uncomfortable. So I wanted to get back to being comfortable, like in my big clothes before I could start work on, you know, being attractive and, more colorful, pretty clothes that I'm working on getting. So, um, yeah, it was just more baby stepping my way up from, you know, being an uncomfortable little turtle to, just feeling confident in my skin because I had never really felt that. So I wanted to earn confidence and show my son how to, live a healthy lifestyle in a way that I never got to learn how to do. My parents were older by the time they had me, and so I didn't really get to have healthy role models. So it's new to my family really to have somebody balance work and fitness. So I really wanted to learn as much as I could from this program.
Yeah, no, I love that. So, like before you signed on, you were really uncomfortable, in your own body with like what your body was able to do, also like how you felt in clothes, and also just uncomfortable with how you felt health wise because you didn't experience like having parents that were necessarily in the greatest shape, growing up, and that's something I definitely relate to too. Um, so where are you at now, I guess? Like now we're like five months in, which is like, really relatively not even that long, but I feel like you've like gone through so much even just in these 5 months. Um, but where are you at now? Like I know we mentioned the 19-pound weight loss now as of this morning and getting into like the 140s, but like where else are you at now compared to where you were before?
Yeah, I mean, I have honestly never felt better. Um, like physically, I feel so much stronger than I've ever felt, and I can like multitask. I can watch Henry and like fill up the tire or the air in my tires on my car. I can do like all sorts of like running around with him, the way that I have never been able to run around with kids really. Um, you know, I I get weird urges to just like go for a little sprint, and I've never felt that before in my life. I don't run. um and even deeper than that, like this program has taught me how to just give myself a little grace. Um Especially like when you talked about the different levels of success, like just because you didn't hit one of your goals for the day doesn't mean you could just give up on all of the rest of your goals. You can at least do something right today. So, just not being so hard on myself when I'm not able to reach 100% of my goals has been, really, really good and healing. And, you know, from what I've been through throughout my whole life, I really just had this like learned sense of helplessness and being out of control. So, really taking action to take control of my health and my life has really been so empowering. I know that sounds corny, but it's so true. I have never felt better mentally or physically.
Yeah. No, I love all that. And your check-ins are so awesome to me. I love reading over them because you always reflect on like there's always like one moment in your check-in that you talk about in the past week that's like very specific and something that you're able to do that you like weren't able to do in the past, or it was difficult to do in the past? Like you just kind of brought that up a little bit with filling up your tire, like filling up your tire while watching Henry at the same time, stopping and running to get him if he's like moving around or something. Like that's just like a very simple thing that you never really probably thought was like a problem before, but now that you're feeling better and you're able to do that better, you realize, oh, like I was limited before. There were other things that you've brought up too in the past. Like I think one was being able to carry Henry for like a couple mile walk or something without having to put him down. What I think that was something that you brought up too. That was like
Mhm.
normally you never were able to do that, but now you've built up the strength and the stamina to be able to do that. Um, and I think there were other things too. I know you mentioned like sitting in just even like a pretzel style, like sitting down, you hadn't been
Mhm.
able to do in a long time, and now you're able
Yeah.
to. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other little things you can think of too, but um, just like there's little things throughout life that like when you're not taking care of yourself, you kind of lose and you don't even realize it. And then once you start to actually take care of yourself and prioritize yourself and your health, they start to come back and you're like, wow, I missed being able to do this, or like I can't believe I never was able to do this. Um,
Yeah.
are there any other things like off the top of your head you can think of? If not, it's
Well,
fine.
yeah. Well, I mean, that reminded me of, those weekly check-ins where you ask, about our wins that week or what we could have done better that week. That's also been really good for me because, like I said, I was always on autopilot, um, just like totally zoned out. So, like, those questions are always in my mind. Like, how can I answer those questions? And it just has helped me be more present, just in my day to day life. And, so I don't know. I don't know how to say it, how helpful it's been. It's been exactly what I needed because I'm more present than I was. And even just with Henry, like, it's easy to be kind of bored with a toddler that can't do a whole lot. Um, so like keeping those questions in my mind has been helpful, and just, being grateful for the little wins of every day, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to have those like reflections regularly, whether it's weekly or maybe even daily, like reflect on any like small wins you had throughout that day. And like you said, it makes you more present, which then makes you just build better relationships with the people around you. Like when you're on autopilot,
Mhm.
you probably aren't showing up the best way for Henry or for James or for yourself, but now because you're more present, you are. Um, and I definitely agree. This has been a journey of like trying to get you not to be as hard on yourself because, like some of your check-ins, maybe not so much lately, but like the first couple of months, the first few months, you would like every single day hit your step goal, and one day was like instead of 10,000, you hit like 9,999, and would be like mad at yourself for 10,000. Um, so that's been definitely a journey, but you've gotten better with that, I think, over time, which is good. And like it's important to realize like just because one thing isn't perfect, it doesn't mean that like all of your results are down the drain. It just, means like just kind of reassess, and if you want to be perfect next week, then try to be a little bit better. Um, but I think something that you touched on with just the level of control that you feel now in your life is just like priceless, because especially with given your circumstance and your history, right? Like dealing with that, what you dealt with at a young age, you probably felt like you had no control over anything. And now, like, you're starting to feel like, oh, like, I'm eating this way, exercising this way, I'm getting this result. Like, I'm having predictable control over my results and how I feel. And it feels really good. And I don't think it's corny at all. Like, it's super empowering. And that's why I am so passionate about like coaching and fitness and nutrition, because this whole thing is what I think really helped benefit my life in so many ways, with my relationships, with my career, with what I do, because I lacked a lot of confidence before I lost weight back in like 2013, and
Mhm.
I felt like I kind of didn't really have control over my life either. And it was like losing that weight helped give me the confidence and the realization that I do have control over what happens, in my life or what results I get, whether it's like fitness or maybe it's my job or my like relationship, like what kind of relationship I want to have. And
Hmm.
um it all trickles down. Like, and it's not about the weight loss, it's not about seeing the number on the scale, but it's about putting in the work and then seeing a certain result come about from it. And it's like, okay, if I put in the work there and I show up day to day and I trust in the process, if I put in the work in my business or my career or this other area of my life and show up daily, consistently, then I'll get this other result that I desire. And like when you realize like you have control over that, it just, I don't know, it's like you feel, I don't know, so not easy, but you feel like so relaxed in life because you're not stressed. Like I think when you lack control, that's when you have this anxiety all the time because you're like, I'm
Yeah.
not in control of the outcome that's gonna have or that's gonna
Hmm.
happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause, I always thought because my family's so unathletic and, we're not meant to be fit people. I kind of had this idea in my head that like my physiology was different. Like I couldn't possibly just be healthy like that. But that was just ridiculous looking back on it. It's just you spend a couple hours a day working on yourself and it's amazing the difference that it can make.
Yeah. And now like you've learned that and you've not only like learned it and heard about it, like it's one thing to just like listen to podcasts or read about it, but you got in the trenches and actually experienced it. So now like when Henry, as he grows up, like you're gonna not only like show him the way by like leading by example, but you're also gonna be able to like teach him too that he has control over what he wants out of life too. And like there's so many people I think that have so much potential to achieve something great in life or be like this incredible person and really impact a lot of lives. And the only thing that stops them from doing it is their lack of confidence in themselves to actually like be able to do it. But now you're building that confidence in yourself that you can achieve something great and you're going to pass that on to Henry too. And it's like, what you're doing great with you showing up on this like Facebook Live and sharing your story, like that's going to impact so many people. And then, Henry, he's going to grow up with this mentality and he's going to be able to impact so many people. And then I'm sure even this is rubbing off on James too. And then it's going to help him be a better person. So it's like all this just kind of like spreads out to everybody around you when you take the leap and like, invest the time and energy and whatever in yourself to be better.
Yeah, and I'm already kind of turning into an annoying friend, trying to get my friends to understand that they can do this too. It's not, I'm not special. Like everybody can feel this great if they put the work in. So, yeah, I'm trying to sort of be a positive influence in everybody's life now and not just a huge bummer.
And that's incredible that you are like showing up and being a potential inspiration for other people to take control of their health, because that's probably something that before you started this program like you never thought you would be able to do. Like would you ever have pictured yourself like, okay, I'm going to be the one who's like encouraging my friends to work out and like telling them no, it's okay, like you can do it? Like would you ever imagine that like 5 months ago?
Never. No. That would have felt like a joke to me. It's still kind of still have a little bit of imposter syndrome, but yeah, I definitely feel so much better and I want everybody to feel so much better, you know?
Yeah, and that's I love that so much about, the conversations I have with clients is when they start to feel empowered enough to where they start like influencing other people to take control of their health and benefiting, their themselves and their family. Like that's so cool to me. Not only like you and your success, but also just the fact that you are like almost your identity is shifting of somebody who is like who does take care of their health and is fit, and like the fact that you have the confidence and to influence them to make good decisions is great. Like it's showing that like you're not only changing the result like losing the weight, but you're also changing internally too, on the inside.
Yeah. Henry's already trying to pick up kettlebells.
That's hilarious. Um, you should get him some of the toy plastic ones.
Oh, he's already got a set.
Oh, awesome. So what surprised you the most about the program? Like if there's anything like maybe one, maybe two, if you can think of things that like surprise you the most as far as, how the program or how this process has been of, you being down almost 20 pounds now.
Um, yeah, I mean, I touched on a lot of it already, but it's just been surprising that it really does go beyond, how you're moving and eating because you do a lot of reflecting on like why you maybe didn't meet your goals that week or like what you're letting come between you and your goals. So it's just been a crazy priority shift and like a shift in my point of view on life and also just how hands-on you are as a coach because I was a little nervous about the investment part in the beginning. I hadn't worked since I had Henry, so we were a little tight on money at the time, but um just just the way that I feel and what I've learned has been so worth the investment. And I don't like giving up my money, so that's saying a lot.
Yeah. No, I love that. So like what made you then decide to, I don't know, I guess actually, I mean, you kind of already answered it, I guess, but like so many people let that financial thing stop them from taking the leap. Like, and I've said this before in other like lives and talks and everything. Like it's one thing to literally just not have the resources to do it, and that's okay. But I know there's a lot of people who do have the resources, but it's tight or it's scary, and
Mhm.
then they decide not to because of that fear, really. So I guess like what really helped you not let that kind of fear or your tendency to like, not want to give your money up? What like actually helped you get over that and take the leap that so many people end up turning away from?
When I first started, I would say it was just how unsustainable my life at the time felt. Like I really felt so unhappy and so uncomfortable, like something had to give. Um, so that was it at first. And then I kept renewing because, I want to make sure that I know these habits and how to control my body in different circumstances for the rest of my life. So, I'm only on month 5 now. But I know that, like pregnancy can be really difficult with diet and exercise. So I want to know like how to navigate that while, learning about more nutrition and diet needs from a registered dietitian. Like there is no flyer that the doctor's office can give you that can help you the way that this program does. And it's for max probably a year, it's a year of an investment versus a lifetime of knowing how to take care of yourself. That's when you think about the stupid things that you spend your money on sometimes, it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think I don't know, I couldn't really say it any better. Like I don't know if there's really anything else to add to it that much, but just like you have to realize, like you said, that in a span of a year or however long, you're in the program, like we have a 6 month commitment, but like you could stay for a year and a half. I've had clients for a couple of years even, but like
Mhm.
when you're doing that for that long and you're actually in a program that's going to teach you and walk like side by side with you almost throughout the whole entire journey, like so much of this you're going to, like you said, be able to take through your life forever. And it's not just like, oh, I'm paying for a year of nutrition and fitness. Like you're going to be able to take these principles with you forever for the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, however long. Like, so when you think about that, like if this program and what you learn, I mean, you obviously have to put in the work, you have to show up. Like you could sign up for the
Mhm.
program, not do the work, never check in or check in like once every month or, half ass it and not get much out of it. But as long as you show up and try your best and like communicate and um, everything, like these principles, you're going to be able to, take away for, the next 40 years or so and or longer, however, whatever your age is now and how long you end up
Yeah,
living. But
longer if you didn't do this program.
right. So when you think about like the monthly cost of that, like if you divide that out, what this program is for the next 40 years of potential knowledge and strategies and habits that you can take with you, like
Mhm.
it's nothing. Like,
Yeah,
as
especially for undoing like a lifetime of bad habits, it's so cheap when you think about it. And I work as a medical coder from home, so I'm always reading about like elderly Medicaid patients that have so many complications from diabetes and you know just things that could have been prevented if they knew how to take care of themselves better. And I get to read about the future that I'm trying to avoid, basically. So yeah, the investment has definitely been worth it.
yeah. So I guess kind of just like the last question is, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, but what would you say to somebody who like let's say one of your good friends who's talking to you right now and they were skeptical of, signing up or joining the program, what would you say to them?
Um, I mean, I'll tell you the same thing I've been telling my friends, that you have never invested in yourself the way that this program would help you. It just doesn't add up to anything. Like any lessons you've ever put into like a sport doesn't match up to learning about how you need to be eating and moving, and the clarity that it gives you for prioritizing yourself. um I don't know, I'm not very articulate when I'm speaking versus when I'm texting people, but yeah, I tell my friends all the time that I'm just so glad that I I put the money in myself for once. Yeah, I put the time in for myself, and I'm just showing people how they should be treating themselves, because I feel like if everybody learned how to be healthy like this and take care of themselves, you know, they would be a lot less stressed in their day-to-day life. It's just worth it for the mental journey and the physical journey alone. You're gonna learn a lot.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think like when I think about where you were and just like the answers you gave and how you, felt about yourself when you first joined and now, even just like 5 months later, you're a completely different person, like in my opinion, or maybe not a completely different person, but a completely upgraded version of the Megan that I met before. And it's only been 5 months. And so I'm really excited to see what happens, over the next 5, 6, however many months after that. Um, so appreciate you coming on here, Megan, and sharing your story. Like I said, it was an incredibly inspiring story hearing like where you came from, the thoughts you had regarding your body because of your experience and where you are now. And um, was this the first time like ever publicly sharing something like that?
Yeah, so that's probably why I talked a lot faster than I needed to. I've confided in a couple of people that are close to me, but I've never talked about it publicly. Um, so it's when you keep something like that to yourself for your whole life, you start to feel like a secret yourself. So when I sent you that message on your birthday and you shared it, I felt a little bit lighter. So I agreed to do this too. And I hope that I was coherent. And if I don't know, if anybody has any questions or wants to reach out, I'm open.
Yeah. No, you did amazing, and a lot better than I probably would have done if I was in that situation and sharing that too. And I think the fact that you feel so comfortable and confident to actually share that publicly for the first time is a big testament to just how much you've grown over this time period too. Um, so like I said, really appreciate you sharing that. Um, and coming on here, like I said, really excited for the next 5 to 6 months or even longer to see what else we achieve together. And I think that's it. So appreciate everyone for listening. Appreciate you, Megan, like I said, again, for coming on. And we'll see you guys in the next one then.
Thanks. Take care.